Top stories. The top stories tonight in Y News. Firecracker-related injuries in the country drastically reduced to 85%.
President Rodrigo Duterte is confident that Filipinos will see brighter days in the year 2021.
Manila residents can now pre-register to avail free COVID-19 vaccine once it arrives and approved for use in the country.
And the World Health Organization approves Pfizer-BioNTech COVID vaccine for emergency use.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Friday, January 1, 2021. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the country and in other parts of the world. I am William Theo.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am Mariela Toza.
First in the news. The Jose Reyes Memorial Medical Center hailed the low cases of firework injuries during the year-end festivities. But authorities are short to implement a firecracker ban in the city. Dante Amento explains why.
The total firecracker ban in Metro Manila did not prevent residents to use firecrackers and pyrotechnics in the celebration of the year 2021. 9 patients were brought to Jose Reyes Memorial Medical Center in Manila due to firecrackers-related injuries.
A majority naman adults, pero we have very few na minor. So most ng mga minor naman ay positive cases.
Patients were treated for minor injuries.
Yung mga dumating naman natin na mga patients ay minor cases lang. So most of them or all of them naman are sent home na.
Dr. Charmaine Mendoza says it is the lowest number of firecracker victims they have registered for the past 5 years so far. Last 2015, the hospital received 113 patients, 67 patients in 2016, 56 in 2017, 2018 was 37, and 38 last 2019. The hospital administration hopes to have 0 firecracker victims in the succeeding years. Dante Amento, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Philippines was able to drastically reduce the number of fireworks injuries during the holiday season. Meanwhile, a 12-year-old girl died after being hit by a stray bullet in Lanao del Norte. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
The Department of Health reported 50 fireworks-related injuries from December 21 to January 1. Compared to the same period last 2019, cases are lower by 85% or equivalent to 340 fireworks-related injuries, according to Health Secretary Francisco Duque III. Aside from the limited mobility of people due to pandemic, the strengthening of measures and call of the government to avoid using fireworks help in the decrease of injuries.
The lower numbers we achieved this year is indeed a welcome development. But we will not stop until we achieve 0 firework-related injuries and ensure that the next holidays will be safer for every Filipino.
Witty stops as the cause of injuries, followed by Boga, 5-Star, and Triangle.
Legal fireworks cause 55% of all injuries, while illegal fireworks at 37%. So makikita natin dito na yung legal na mga paputok, mas lumaki na ang disgrasya na naibulot nito. Yan po yung lagi natin sinasabi noong mga nakaraang taon na wala talaga yung legal o illegal fireworks. Kasi lahat po yan talaga nakaka-disgrasya. So let us be reminded that fireworks, whether legal or illegal, are really dangerous, not only to our health, but also to our environment.
According to Health Secretary Francisco Duque III, nationwide firecracker ban will be possible this 2021. But more importantly, enforcement is needed to make fireworks-related injuries go down to zero in the Philippines. Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police reports 3 incidents of stray bullet during the year-end festivities. According to PNP spokesperson Police Brigadier General Ildebrandi Usana, 2 of the victims were injured while a 12-year-old girl died in Lanao del Norte.
Base po sa initial report ng Chief of Police, yung bata po ay nasa labas, naglalaro, kasama yung kanyang mga pinsan. Hawak-hawak po ng bata yung piggy bank niya. And then all of a sudden, bumagsak siya. Akala ng mga pinsan niya ho ay siya yung nadulas lamang. Pero nakita ng mga pinsan niya may dugo na yung bata. At nakita ng doktor nga po na hindi lang po sadyang nadulas, kundi talagang meron pong tama ng bala doon po sa itaas ng ulo.
The slug that was in the victim's head is now in the custody of the PNP Crime Laboratory. According to Usana, they will conduct a cross-matching to determine the owner of the loose firearm. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
In other news, higher cost of liquefied petroleum gas or LPG products greeted consumers on the first day of the year 2021 after oil firms implemented price increases. Solane has increased the LPG price by 3 pesos and 73 centavos per kilogram as of 6 a.m. of January 1. This is equivalent to a 41.03 price hike in its 11-kilogram cylinder. Phoenix Petroleum also implemented an increase in the price of its Phoenix Super LPG by 4 pesos and 15 centavos per kilogram, which is equivalent to 45.65 increase in its 11-kilogram tank. Phoenix also hiked its auto LPG price by 2.35 per liter. Petron likewise announced adjustments in the price of its household cooking gas by 4.16 per kilogram, equivalent to a 49.06 increase in a typical 11-kilogram tank, and auto LPG prices by 2 pesos and 33 centavos per liter.
The Department of Environmental and Natural Resources, or DENR, has maintained that it made significant strides in the cleanup of Manila Bay amid the coronavirus pandemic. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
Efforts of the government in rehabilitating Manila Bay faced a lot of challenges last year when the country implemented strict quarantine measures amid the pandemic. DENR spokesperson and Undersecretary Jonas Leones said movements of their workers and personnel were limited, resulting to the delay of the project accomplishment. But the official notes that there has been an improvement of water quality, particularly the coliform level.
There was already a drastic reduction, improvement from millions and billions, naging thousands na lang yan. But we still have to determine ano yung cost ng fluctuations.
Leones said the Task Force Manila Bay are tracing hidden waterways that emits polluted water into the bay. Major waterways such as rivers of Marikina, Pasig and Tulyahan also needs to be addressed. The official added that they have cleaned 134 esteros, but there are 300 more from Regions 3, 4A and National Capital Region which surrounds the bay.
Unless we determine yung mga possible sources ng mga discharges, maliban dito sa tatlong outfall na ginagawa natin, hindi natin malilinis yung water quality dyan.
The beach front will be extended by 500 meters, connecting the previous one that were dumped with dolomite sand. Once the water reaches the safe level, swimming will be allowed in the area.
Pagka na-meet na natin yung standard na 100 most probable number per 100 ml, we will issue an advisory that they can already swim. But for the meantime, hindi pa natin na-meet yung mga quality standard. So, hindi pa pwede mag-swimming doon.
Comfort rooms and souvenir shops will also be set up along Baywalk. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
As the country ended 2020, where it experienced various challenges like calamities and a pandemic, President Rodrigo Duterte urged the Filipinos to be grateful for the blessings they receive and always do good and make a difference in the world. Rosalie Cos reports.
President Rodrigo Duterte welcomed year 2021 in his hometown Davao City with his family. The chief executive is confident that the Philippines will see brighter days ahead as he touted the indomitable spirit of the Filipino. In his message, he said we must be grateful to God of the blessings we have received and be mindful of how fortunate we are. The chief executive hopes this will inspire us to do good and make a difference in the world. The president believes that because of difficulties and trials in 2020, everyone will be stronger and more prepared for the challenges ahead. He adds, though COVID-19 pandemic may have cost so many lives and material resources, this paves the ways for the many of us to realize the value of human life and to look after the welfare of fellow men. Also, the president says year 2021 is another chance for the government people to render public service. Like the president, majority of the Filipinos still are hopeful in 2021 and many still believe this will be a better year than 2020. Currently, the government is negotiating with various pharmaceutical companies, allied countries and private sector on COVID-19 vaccine. According to Malacan, the government's target rollout of mass vaccination is in the first quarter of 2021. Many hope this will put an end to the health crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
For those watching us on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on the right side of your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook.
The World Health Organization approved the Pfizer and BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine for emergency use, making it the first vaccine to receive emergency validation from the United Nations Health Agency since the pandemic started. Early Briones explains why live. Yes, Early, please go ahead.
Marielle, the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine was found to meet the must-have criteria for safety and efficacy set out in the World Health Organization's emergency use listing procedure, with the benefits of using the vaccine outweighing the potential risks. WHO's emergency use listing opens doors for poorer countries without regulatory resources to quickly approve medicines and vaccines for new diseases like COVID-19. WHO's Assistant Director General for Access to Medicines and Health Products, Dr. Mariangela Simao, said that this is a positive step towards ensuring global access to COVID-19 vaccines, but emphasized the need for an even greater global effort in ensuring adequate vaccine supply to meet the needs of priority populations. Together with the Gavi Vaccine Alliance and the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, the World Health Organization spearheaded the COVAX, a global effort to distribute vaccines to low and middle-income countries, to help ensure that vaccines do not only go to wealthy nations. The COVAX Alliance has agreement for nearly 2 billion doses and has been in talk with Pfizer and BioNTech to secure vaccines with first deliveries due in early 2021. Marielle?
Early, what are some challenges involved in the storage and delivery of the vaccines to different countries around the world, and how effective is the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine?
Marielle, Pfizer-BioNTech's vaccine demands strict temperature control, including keeping them at negative 70 degrees Celsius, which has made it challenging to transport and to store even for Western countries. This may pose more difficulties for developing nations that do not have adequate infrastructure and enough resources. Pfizer-BioNTech's vaccine was found to be 95% effective after 2 doses that are 21 days apart and has received regulatory backing from the United Kingdom, the European Medicines Agency, U.S. Food and Drug Administration, Health Canada, some Middle Eastern nations, and Singapore. Marielle?
All right, thank you, Early Briones, reporting live from Australia.
The Department of Health calls on individuals who have been injected with unauthorized vaccines against coronavirus disease to immediately report to them any adverse effects following the inoculation. Aiko Miguel reports why.
The Department of Health continuously monitored the individuals who took unregistered COVID-19 vaccine, including some members of the Presidential Security Group. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III advises the immunized persons to immediately report to them any side effects they experience after taking the shot. The health chief says this can help them to evaluate other potential vaccines that can be used in the country.
Yung mga naturukan ay mangyari lang pong i-report nila sa kinakaukulan na otoridad yung pong adverse events na kanila pong naranasan para ito po ay makasama sa atin datos, no? Both for the short, medium and the long term assessment of these vaccines. So kasama naman po yan sa lahat ng mga bakuna yung sistema for monitoring what is known as adverse events following immunization or adverse events of special interest.
The Food and Drug Administration, meanwhile, is still conducting its investigation on the immunization of some members of the PSG using unauthorized COVID-19 vaccines. The FDA is finding out the origin and what kind of vaccine was used to immunize them.
Whether this will be finished by within a week or two is something that's not yet clear to us because they're still at the gathering of information stage. They need to interview people and connect the dots.
Meanwhile, FDA is still evaluating the submitted emergency use authorization of Pfizer-BioNTech in the Philippines. According to Secretary Duque, Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr., the American pharmaceutical company may start rolling out its vaccines in the country by the first quarter of 2021 or before March. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Only 8 areas in the country remain under the General Community Quarantine or GCQ classification for the month of January 2021. This includes Metro Manila, Davao City, Santiago City, Batangas, Tacloban City, Lanao del Sur, Iligan City, and Davao del Norte. While majority parts of the country will be under modified General Community Quarantine or MGCQ, including Isabela and Iloilo City, which were first classified under GCQ. The decisions follow after officials from the provinces appealed to the government to lower their restrictions against COVID-19.
The Philippines recorded 1,765 new confirmed cases of coronavirus disease or COVID-19 today, pushing the nationwide count to 475,820. The Department of Health or DOH also reported 106 new recoveries, bringing the total recovery count to 439,895. 4 fatalities were recorded, taking the death toll to 9,248. Davao City reported the highest number of new cases with 100, followed by Rizal with 99, Cavite with 71, Quezon City with 70, and Manila with 69.
Residents in Manila can now pre-register to avail of the local government's free coronavirus vaccine once it arrives and approved for use. Joanano tells us why.
The Manila City government has introduced their online registration for residents who wants to avail of free COVID-19 vaccine shot once it becomes available in the country. Residents who want to get a reservation may register at www.manilacovid19vaccine.com. All they have to do is to answer some personal questions provided on the website. Then click the register or reserve button to validate the application. The applicant will receive a one-time password or OTP to proceed with the application and click the I agree selection box for the waiver page. According to Mayor Isko Moreno Domagoso, the city government has already signed a non-disclosure agreement with the two big pharmaceutical company Pfizer and AstraZeneca for the purchase of COVID-19 vaccines. He adds that they are just waiting to finalize the advanced marketing commitment contract for the acquisition and reservation of COVID-19 vaccines. The city government is planning to initially acquire around 400,000 doses of vaccines. Mayor Isko says that the health workers and senior citizens will remain their priority for the vaccination program, but other residents may also be entitled for free COVID-19 vaccination.
Magpa-reserve na po kayo ng inyong slot sapagkat ang pagbabakuna po ay voluntary. Yan po ay ipagkakaloob sa inyo ng libre ng inyong pamahalang lungsod.
The local chief executive assures that they will only purchase vaccines that are registered and approved by the Food and Drug Administration or FDA.
Sisiguraduhin po natin na ang ating mga gagamitin ay sadyang itinalaga ng mga regulatory agencies ng ating gobyerno upang maging ligtas, safe, at epektibo ang mga bakunang gagamitin natin.
Mayor Domagoso adds that they have cancelled some of the city's project, those that can be postponed, in order to have additional funding for the purchase of COVID-19 vaccines. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
For those watching us on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on the right side of your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook.
The government has officially included the United States of America in the list of countries covered by the travel restrictions due to the new variant of coronavirus. This following the joint recommendation of the Department of Health and the Department of Foreign Affairs. Effective January 3, 2021 to January 15, 2021, foreign passengers coming from the U.S. or who have been to the U.S. within 14 days preceding arrival in the Philippines will be prohibited from entering the country, while all passengers coming from the U.S. before the said period will be allowed entry to the country but are still required to undergo a 14-day quarantine even if they obtain a negative RT-PCR test result. Filipinos are not subject to travel restrictions, but they are required to undergo strict quarantine.
The United Kingdom has officially left the European Union's economic and political orbit in an historic departure that has split Britain's politically and marked the country's greatest shift on the global stage in modern times. As the clock struck 11 p.m. in London on Thursday, December 31, the Brexit transition period came to an end and the UK exited the bloc's single market and customs union. But critics say it reverses decades of integration with its closest neighbors and threatens to break up the UK, harm the country's economy, and diminish its international standing. Thursday's momentous shift came more than 4 years after a slim majority of Britons voted in favor of quitting the EU in a controversial June 2016 referendum. That vote unleashed a political crisis in the UK that effectively ended the political careers of Johnson's two predecessors, Theresa May and David Cameron, polarized the nation, saw a rise in xenophobia, and soured relations with the bloc, its largest trading partner. The relationship between London and Brussels will now be reset under the terms of their recently inked trade and cooperation agreement.
Drug maker Sinopharm has been given conditional approval for generic public use by Chinese authorities. Maeve Yandog will give us more details live. Yes, Maeve, good evening.
Good evening, William. Sinopharm's vaccine is China's first approved jab for general use after showing 79% efficacy rate in its phase 3 trials, where people who received 2 doses of the vaccine produce high-level antibodies. China's National Medical Products Administration Deputy Commissioner Chen Shifei recently announced the decision and said that Sinopharm's vaccine fully meets the preset requirements after a series of strict reviews and tests in accordance with the law and procedures. The vaccine is also one of the several Chinese-made vaccines approved by the government for an emergency use in the recent weeks. On November, 1.5 million doses were already administered on high-risk groups, and more than 300 million were administered since December 15. However, the firm did not provide details such as the trial size, the number of infections in the trials, and the side effects. This made a number of experts cautiously accept the vaccine's approval, including Song Man-ki from the International Vaccine Institute in Seoul, who said that the lack of data makes it difficult to comment on the vaccine's efficacy. Now, with the vaccine's approval for general use in China, Beijing is hoping to inoculate tens of millions more people by mid-February. William?
Yes, May, will China's vaccine be used by other countries? And if so, which countries have made a deal with China?
Yes, in fact, William, China vowed to share its vaccine with other countries and the less developed ones at a fair price. So far, the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain rolled out the Sinopharm vaccines to the public. Pakistan also announced a purchase deal of 1.2 million doses with the company. Aside from the Sinopharm vaccine, other countries such as Singapore and Indonesia also have purchase agreements with China's other vaccine called Sinovac. Back to you, William.
Thank you, Mavi and Doug, reporting live from Australia.
Meanwhile, Malaysia reports record new COVID-19 cases as it enters 2021. Marvi Delfin will give us the details live. Yes, Marvi, good evening.
Marielle, Malaysia ended 2020 with a record number of 2,525 new COVID-19 cases, the highest daily infections to be reported by the Health Ministry since the pandemic began. This exceeds the previous record of 2,335 cases reported just 5 days ago on December 26. Nearly half of these new cases are situated in Selangor, and according to Health Ministry Director General Dr. Noor Hisham, most of the Selangor cases were detected from existing clusters and through contact tracing of COVID-19 patients. 13 of the latest cases were imported, while the remainder were locally transmitted. There were also 8 fatalities, all identified as Malaysian citizens, which puts the national COVID-19 death toll at 471. The total number of COVID-19 cases in Malaysia is 113,010, with active cases at 23,598. Meanwhile, Dr. Hisham said that the efforts of Malaysia's health ministry in containing COVID-19 transmission would continue despite the challenges, and public health facilities have so far been able to take on the pandemic. While Malaysian Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin outlined his 5 priorities in the country's COVID-19 fight during his address for the start of 2021, with his first priority being the acquisition of COVID-19 vaccines and the implementation of a nationwide vaccination program. The rest of his priorities were focused on economic and political recovery. When the movement control order was first put into place, there was a huge economic loss of 2.4 billion Malaysian ringgit per day, or at least $596 million. And so Prime Minister Muhyiddin said that the government had to implement an approach in managing the pandemic, which ensured that people were safe while the economy continued to run. In relation to the record high of new COVID-19 cases, Prime Minister Muhyiddin said that the government had relaxed some restrictions provided that the people continued to follow the minimum health standards. Marielle?
All right, Marvi, thank you for that live report.
The year 2020 is a year to remember for all of us as the Philippines and the world continues to experience and be affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Not only that, but also other incidents and natural disasters Filipinos went through were brought back to our memories through last night's Repaso 2020 and the sacrifices of UNTV News personnel and lockdown employees were recognized in the program. Jo Anano tells us why.
Another significant chapter of our lives has gone in the year 2020. As they say, struggle is real. Health and economic crisis, uncertainties, worries, and fears. And every time a year ends, it is part of UNTV's public service advocacy to give a glimpse of the year that was, issues that made the headlines, topics, incidents, personalities that became the talk of the town. In 2020, the Philippines faced great challenges, mainly the new coronavirus that has caused governments and citizens to struggle financially, economies to weaken, border to close, tens of billions to get sick, and more than 1 million to die worldwide. To add to the strong typhoons as well as issues of corruption, the COVID-19 pandemic has changed the known normal in every part of the country. But the unseen killer enemy has not hindered UNTV from broadcasting and from rendering service to the public. The company, led by our President and CEO Kuya Daniel Razon, has made sure that we always follow the health protocols implemented by the government. In our coverage, every news crew member observes proper hygiene, disinfection, wearing of face mask and face shield, and social distancing among others, like what Kuya Daniel always advises us. While UNTV personnel on lockdown within our broadcast facility endure being away from their families just to perform their duties and continue their part in serving the public. In all these things and in our daily undertakings during the pandemic, the care and understanding of Kuya Daniel and Brother Eddie Soriano, the overall servant of Members Church of God International, did not falter.
Gusto namin kayong i-commend lahat ng ating mga kasama at isa ito sa ating mga ipinagpapasalamat sa Panginoon sa awa at tulong ng Diyos. It's been a year already dahil December pa lang meron na tayong mga hinaharap na ganito at nung pumasok ang taong 2020 talagang ang mga reporters natin ay nakakalat din naman. Pero sa awa at tulong ng Panginoon, so far awa ng Diyos naman ay maayos ang kalusugan ng ating mga mamamahayag, ang ating mga reporters, and kami ay nagpapasalamat din sa inyong pakikipagkaisa sa lahat. Para sa lahat ito ng ating mga correspondents, lalo na yung mga nasa labas ng himpilan. Kasi meron tayong iba-ibang sakripisyong ginagawa. Yung ating mga kasama na naka-lockdown sa building at yung ating mga kasama naman na humaharap naman na sa labas at kumbaga sapalaran din sa pagkalap ng mga balita habang nasa gitna ng pandemya.
Kasi po, yung mga reporters, yung ating mga coordinators sa iba-ibang mga advocacy ng pagtulong sa kapwa ng UN Television in cooperation with the members of the Church of God International. Mga frontliners po lahat ang mga taong ito. Kasi pag lumabas ka sa bahay, hindi mo na alam kung ano masasagap mo sa labas. Hindi na iiwasan sa taong mahirap na kumilos para siya ay makakain, lalo na ang kanyang pamilya. Yun po ang ating advocacy dito sa UN Television sa pagtulong ng mga kapatid sa Church of God International na maituloy-tuloy ito.
And as we face the days ahead in the year 2021, the public we serve can be rest assured that with God's mercy and grace, UNTV will continue to be an instrument in bringing news and information and service to the Filipino nation and the world.
Dahil ang advokasya po na ating pinaghuhugutan dito sa UNTV, Diyos ang aming sandigan, serbisyo publiko ang aming pinahangagahan.
Joan Dano, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news of January 1, 2021. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Maria Latoza, sitting in for Harleen Delgado and Angelo Castro III, live from Australia.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.